Chapter 3. Leap the Dips.
Response to respondent's original answer. Now comes Jack Wilson, Stamps Jr., who files this response to respondent's original answer. Regarding respondent's general denial. 1. Stamps has made no allegations in his original petition. Having attempted several unanswered written requests for a civil conversation with regarding the interest, well-being, and living arrangement desires of John Henry Stamps, JHS, a child, Stamps filed a simple petition form for the modification of a divorce decree found at the Bexar County District Clerk's website. 2. Rather than allegations, in his original petition, Stamps is instead reporting the factual desires of his son, JHS, through Stamps' selections in the modification document template. 3. Stamps also indicates in his original petition a lesser child support payment to him, the most applicable choice, since he never responded to Stamps' written communications with in which he proposed a sensible and affordable child support payment to Stamps that works for both of them. Regarding self-representation. 4. Stamps feels there is no need to seek legal representation in this matter. His intentions have been earnest, mindful, and peace-centered. As such, Stamps prefers to represent himself pro se. 5. Because Stamps attempted on several occasions to engage in meaningful written conversation regarding JHS's interests, well-being, and living arrangement desires, well ahead of the Stamps filing of this petition to modify, and because it refused to even acknowledge Stamps' attempts to communicate, he has no intention of reimbursing for the cost of her legal representation. Prayer. Jack Wilson Stamps Jr. really loves prayer, and he will now pray for these things. A. That will engage with Stamps in a meaningful dialogue about the interest, well-being, and living arrangement desires of John Henry Stamps, JHS. Instead of pursuing a costly, divisive, and destructive response to Stamps' appropriate petition. B. That finds a way to co-parent with Jack Wilson Stamps Jr. without the burdensome and meddling influences of her family. C. That will engage with Stamps on his unanswered forgiveness for and her family's hurtful assault on his privacy, and on Stamps' numerous unacknowledged written communications to about the possibility of getting back together in the interest of a child, JHS. D. For general relief of every single person involved. Mindfully submitted, Jack W. Stamps, DMA, Pro Se, East Bassey Road, San Antonio, Texas, 78 jackwstamps@gmail.com.
A very costly, divisive, and destructive divorce quickly became part of our lives, mine and Sophia's. It consumed so much of our collective energies, mostly mine. The poles of the Hobbit house were immediately tested and creaked against a divorce vortex like the Leap the Dips coaster in Pennsylvania, even in the gentlest of Cuernavacan evenings. We were like car batteries powering the PA system at a Metallica concert, and Sophia was a separate battery, though she was wise enough to power just the monitor systems. She knew better. On the other hand, the monitors for a live performance of the song Battery by Metallica might prove difficult to power. Let's say she knew what she was doing and that she knows her monitor systems. Talk about karma. Like literally just yesterday, I wrote and filed the above response to Marie's original answer to the petition to have my son live with me. It's added here because it serves as a good introduction to both the then and the now of my relationship with my son's mother. I am a completely different person now than I was then. Part of the meaning of this project will be found, hopefully, in the journey from the then, when my thoughts, emotions, and reactions weren't tethered to the now. 6 years on, I can represent myself pro se in an earnest, mindful, and peace-centered way. This is not self-help literature. This is a heuristic memoir. But what was the then really like? My marriage was mostly wonderful, and Marie, much to her credit, was very patient. She started dating a 34-year-old guy, getting ready to start a master's in music composition. Not the best set of prospects in retrospect. We married during my doctorate, also in composition, and got a house in her parents' neighborhood, which was not the best idea in retrospect. In a very short span around the time of my doctoral defense, we bought that house and had our baby boy. I associate Marie's modification response to the Leap the Dips coaster because this marriage and co-parenting coaster is weathered and ongoing, dating back to the moment she passed on the Hobbit house. With many dips to leap and presumably many leaps to dip, there are no less than 1 billion accounts of divorce written, typed, journaled, filed, argued, dismissed, appealed, murdered, and even remarried over already. I won't bore you with the details except for these. Those hundreds of pages of texts, emails, photos of Sophia peeing on the toilet, and tons of attorney-client privilege divorce documents stacked neatly on a table at mediation. That little collated cube of co-parent kryptonite. Not only did it permanently wreck my sense of trust in other people, it was completely unnecessary. Mothers always get the kid in Texas. I get it now. It was overkill, like shooting a sparrow with a shotgun. But why would you want to shoot a sparrow with a shotgun? Oh, right, Texas. I left the iPad with Marie and my son not long after I moved to Austin. It was only during my deposition that I discovered what had happened. Marie's oily and twitchy attorney would hand me a printed text exchange with Sophia or a photo of Sophia peeing or a screen capture of a massage parlor webpage and ask me about them. I complained directly to my attorney during a break that the documents were accessed without authorization. My attorney was too old to understand the technology and too expensive to pay to learn. Okay. Quick question. The internet. That's the one with email, right? The mediator, a retired Bexar County judge, knew even less and saw one screen capture of an Asian woman wearing a bra and panties from a search history of local massage parlors on my personal device and declared it to be porn. It might as well have been smoke signals translated into Esperanto and sent by Pony Express. It was arranged that all the documents, both digital and paper, would be returned to me as part of the mediation agreement. Supposedly, all copies of the documents would be given to me and removed from their computers and phones. I started to get to work investigating how it all went down as soon as I got them. As it turns out, Marie had family members working on duplicating documents. Many of the documents were photos taken of screens brought up on the iPad. Using Photoshop, I analyzed the metadata of the photos, all of which were taken on a Google Pixel phone. Marie didn't have a Pixel, but members of her family did, and Photoshop also showed different Google Pixel phone serial numbers. What a world. During mediation, Marie's legal rationale for the access of my private life was this. The device was a family iPad, and as such, all documents contained therein were family property. I bought the iPad. I was the only person who used it. Despite deleting the iPad from my Apple iCloud, an account that also contained my son's phone, but not Marie's, the data remained on the device. I contacted the San Antonio Police Department and filed a report. I even remember meeting an investigator near a downtown San Antonio hotel to drop off copies of the CDs Marie had produced in compliance with the decree that supposedly contained all known copies of what her family accessed and reproduced. It was kind of weird, shady, and surreal. I was activated and responding, getting to know the game and its bosses. After months of investigation by the white-collar and wire fraud crimes divisions of the SAPD, the case was referred to the Bexar County DA's office for prosecution. I clearly remember waiting to pick up my son from elementary school when an assistant DA told me on the phone, rather apologetically, that they just didn't have the resources to try a case with so many technological elements. Wow. A ream of a personal life. Esperanto. The end of the iPad privacy invasion was the first real red flag warning that legal action and all its rickety roller coaster squeaks requires way more focus and attention from the complainant than lawyers, judges, and investigators have time or patience or savvy for. What a naive and trusting person I was then. I was angry and irritated beyond description. It was like having a winning lottery ticket fall out of my hand, only to watch it get stuck to Elon Musk's heel as he gets in his jet and flies off, left imagining him finding the piece of paper, dirtied with the heel-printed grime of the jet's stairs, as he crosses his legs with plenty of room to do so, and throws it away. So here I am getting ready to drive my son to Estes Park in 2 days to throw axes at trees and shoot arrows at bullseyes. He will have better aim when we return. That is why I am here. The crucible is all but complete, and everything is now. The roller coaster is still standing, and it still delivers all the axiomatic and overly dramatic leaps that dip well below the line that separates forbearance and vengeance. Trust and self-doubt. Heaven and hell. Love and war. We ride for the thrill, and the thrill teaches greater lessons about the self. And we ride over and over again, becoming less interested in the self over time, and more in the distraction from knowing too much about the self. Postscript. Looking back, I see how much I've changed since those days. The anger and sense of betrayal that once consumed me were accompanied by a quiet arrogance I didn't recognize at the time, a belief that my perspective was not only right, but unshakably true. I saw myself as the lone truth teller, righteous in my indignation, certain that everyone else was spinning in the wrong direction. But I was the one trapped on the tilt-a-whirl next to the leap, the dips, mistaking motion for progress, clinging to my version of events while the ride spun wildly out of control. When I wrote this chapter over a year ago, I was still caught in that cycle, still sorting through the wreckage of what felt like endless battles. Since then, life has shifted in ways I couldn't have imagined. I've become the primary parent to our son, and the tensions of co-parenting have begun to settle into something more manageable. It's far from seamless, but the ride feels steadier now, less chaotic. There's much more to say about the present, but that will come later. For now, it's enough to acknowledge that the tilt-a-whirl has slowed to a still point, and for once in a very long time, the horizon is unmoving. Footnote. Metadata is defined as the data providing information about one or more aspects of the data. In this case, it relates to the information about digital photos that can be obtained through software like Photoshop. For example, the kind of device used to take the photo and, in some cases, geographical data regarding when and where the photos were taken. Also, footnote. Okay, quick question. The internet. That's the one with email, right? Is a quote from the very excellent 2006 movie For Your Consideration.